Gautam, when everybody. Gautam, just let me know when everybody is in and then we can start.
Yeah, everyone's in. We can start, Adit.
Everybody's in? Okay, great. So, good morning and good afternoon to everyone. I welcome you all for today's webinar on the topic of the impact of AI and the future of workforce management. This is conducted as part of the leadership conversations under the overall banner of NHRDN. My name is Adit. I am from Wipro Technologies, based in Frankfurt, Germany. I'm responsible for leadership hiring for Wipro in our European organization. I can call myself a little bit of AI enthusiast. We are living, of course, in transformative times. Artificial intelligence has moved from being a buzzword. It's a catalyst for innovation and change in every industry today. As we explore its impact on workforce, we are intrigued by both the opportunities and challenges that AI represents. From redefining job roles and fostering new skills to navigating ethical concerns and ensuring inclusivity, there's much to unravel with AI today. AI can be a trusted partner in reimagining the workplace of the future. And as stewards of this change, it's up to all of us to lead with curiosity, adaptability, and a sense of responsibility. So these are some of the themes we'll explore with our panelists today. I'm very happy to introduce our expert panel that we have, for today. At the very first, it's my privilege to introduce Ms. Pallavi. Pallavi Tyagi was the Chief CHRO, the Chief Human Resource Officer for Capgemini in India. In a most recent role, she works from the global headquarters of Capgemini based in Paris as the Executive Vice President and Global Head of Employee Experience. Pallavi has worked across some of the biggest brands like DuPont, Gillette, and Apollo. With over 2 decades of experience across different industries and geographies, Pallavi is known for her strategic leadership and commitment to fostering an inclusive and dynamic workplace. So very happy to have you, Pallavi. And Pallavi may also request you to introduce NHRDN and the NHRDN leaders who have with us today.
Thank you so much, Adit. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. It's really a privilege over here to talk about Gen AI and how it's shaping workforce and the workplace as well. So we are living in an era where data is defining how we work and the generative AI and the boundaries of possibilities. HR as a function, which was traditionally seen as a formation of people, program, and processes, is now being reimagined by the power of technology. So to help start this conversation, as Adit, walked us through what we will be expecting in the panel, I'm really delighted to be joined by my esteemed colleagues, Mr. Prem Singh, who is the Global CHRO, JK Group, and National President, NHRDN, and Mr. S.V. Nathan, co-founder and chairman, Visara Human Capital Consulting, former CHRO, Deloitte South Asia, and former National President, NHRDN, and advisor for international affairs at NHRDN. Welcome, Mr. Singh, and welcome, Mr. Nathan. Firstly, if I may invite yourself, Mr. Singh, to open up and share your perspectives on the subject and panel, please. And this is the first webinar we are having out of Europe, where we have all the speakers here. And this is thanks to Mr. Singh's trust and the fact, his vision to see that we expand NHRDN much more beyond what we already see from an international boundaries perspective. So over to you, Mr. Singh, to share your vision on NHRDN and, of course, the subject as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Pallavi. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this very important leadership conversation. My compliments to Pallavi and Adit for putting this together. And welcome to Ivana and Thomas for joining this very important leadership conversation. Nathan, thank you for joining as well. So let me just take this opportunity, as Pallavi mentioned, to talk about National HRD Network. So for the friends who are joining from Europe, National HRD Network is a non-profit body, a professional organization of HR professionals in the country, in India. It is something similar to what you have in US, which is called as SHRM. And a parallel of that is in UK called CIPD. I'm sure all the countries have got their own professional associations of HR professionals in respective countries. So National HRD Network is in India. Now, in terms of the scope and spread, the network is organized in terms of chapters. So currently there are close to 60 chapters in large, medium-sized cities. For example, there are chapters in Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Pune, and various major cities. Similarly, there are also regional associations within the network, and then there is a national body. So that's about who we are as an organization, what we do, typically something similar to what SHRM and CIPD do. So we have lots of events for networking, for learning and development, lot of certification programs. So that's how we engage with people. Now, with respect to how much is the scope, so just imagine every year we are able to impact something like several hundred thousands of people every year in terms of conferences, webinars, conclaves, summits, certification programs, and what have you. And the beauty is this is all voluntary. This is a non-profit organization and it's a massive setup. So that's about National HRD Network. About the topic, I would say only two things and leave the rest to be covered by the two experts. So one is that AI is a tool. It's a tool which is going to work along with the humans. So it's not going to replace the humans. Number two, which is more important, I think one of the important stuff that we must talk about, and I'm sure we would, is how AI as a tool can amplify the human capabilities in terms of productivity, efficiency, etc. So rather than worrying too much about whether it's going to take away the jobs, the conversation is really about how does it amplify the productivity and efficiency, and how do we really leverage this as a technology tool. With this, I thank Pallavi, Adit, and the organizing team once again. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh, and thank you for sharing about NHRDN and what an appropriate introduction to the subject. We are hoping with your trust and with your support, we will be able to create some magic that has been created with NHRDN in India across other countries in Europe as well. And with that, I will now invite Mr. Nathan. He needs no introduction as well. A very, very well-renowned HR practitioner in India, has worked with Deloitte and has been forefront of leading many, many innovative HR practices. I also must mention that he has been mentoring us as we are, looking at expanding in Europe, and has been a coach to me especially. Over to you, Mr. Nathan, to share about your perspectives around the subject, and of course, internationally, what more would you like to see, what you've seen and what you would like to see? So over to you as well.
Pallavi, thank you so much. All the people who are on the call, a very, very big thank you. Our experts, Ivana, Thomas, and others who are on the call, a very, very big thank you. Today is a momentous time for us. This is the very first time that with Pallavi, Adit, and Akhilesh, we've been able to put together a program which is absolutely beyond just being topical. This is one of the most important items on anybody's agenda today. NHRDN is very, very, very privileged to have professionals such as you bring in tremendous value to fellow professionals. The very purpose of why we have an NHRDN in India today is to connect, to co-develop, and to grow together. And I think in every facet of all that we wish to do in NHRDN, I can see that under your collective leadership, NHRDN Europe will really go places. So thank you for leading. A really heartfelt thanks. This is a great moment for us. And to have experts like Ivana, and Ivana, thank you for being on the call with us. these are the who's of who of people who are in Europe. So very privileged to have you on the call. What would I love to hear about when you speak about AI? Just one thing. The overall governance, the ethical considerations. When today you and I live in a world where a resume is prepared by AI, and a resume is also getting reviewed by an AI. So very interesting times. And I'd certainly like to hear from our gurus as to how this world is evolving. Personally, for me, I look at all these things no different from what Pim mentioned. I think these are things which are like very powerful tools, and we must know how to use them, and when to use them and when not to, and choose not to and choose to. So with this, I'm going to turn this over to the collective leadership, which is going to take this panel forward. Pallavi, back to you. Thank you so much for giving us a couple of minutes on the call. Thank you.
Thank you once again so much for your support and mentoring, Mr. Nathan. Back to you, Adit.
Thanks a lot, Nathan, Prem, and Pallavi. Very happy to have you join us. It's my privilege again to introduce our second panelist, who's Miss Ivana Bartoletti. Like the people who spoke, Ivana needs no introduction in Europe. She's a globally renowned expert in the area of privacy, data protection, and digital ethics. In her current role as Chief Privacy Officer at Wipro, she leads initiatives to ensure data privacy and compliance across the organization. She's also based in Frankfurt, Germany. She's a sought after speaker, she's an author, she's known for her insightful perspectives on the intersection of technology, privacy, and human rights. I welcome you to also follow her LinkedIn page, where you can see her rubbing shoulders with some of the top dignitaries like Pope Francis, Justin Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron, Mr. Modi, just to name a few. So very happy to have you with us, Ivana.
Thank you very much. And
My pleasure.
thank you very much.
I'll just introduce Thomas and then we can.
Okay, perfect. I thought you were doing one at a time. Perfect. Go ahead.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Ivana. Then we have our third panelist, who's Mr. Thomas Sturm. Thomas is the director and global head of employee relations at Jerry.com. Jerry.com, for those of you who do not know, is the largest Chinese retailer with an annual revenue of more than $130 billion. He's based in Cologne in Germany. Thomas is a labor law specialist and a thought leader in the field of human resources and employee relations. He's worked across industries like e-commerce, retail, and information technology. Thomas has extensive expertise in leveraging AI in enhancing workforce engagement and productivity, and we are keen to listen to his perspectives on navigating cultural differences in global companies and the future of HR in an AI-driven world. So welcome to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Adit, and welcome and to everyone in the call.
Thanks. Before we get into the panel discussion, just a few housekeeping rules. I request others who are non-panelists to be on mute. You can put in your questions through the chat window so that everybody can see, and at different points in time, we'll pick them up and present them to the panel. And also just for all to remember that the views expressed by the panelists here are personal, that in no way represents the companies, where they come from. Right? And with that, let's delve into the topic, today. I first request panelists to give their opening comments. The first, I start with you, Ivana. So I'm sure you have been part of many conferences like we discussed. So why don't you just give us an overview of what has the evolution of AI been like and what has been its impact on business and society today? So over to you, Ivana.
Thank you so much and great to be here. First of all, I just wanted to say how important this is in the sense that getting HR professionals and people leading change within organizations together to share thoughts, to learn from each other, and to really dig deeper in what it means to have AI transforming our workplaces is absolutely crucial. And this is for one specific reason, that sadly in our society, when we talk about AI and the way that often the media portray AI to us is either AI is going to destroy us all, or AI is going to save us all. And there is this really strange approach. If you look at the media, if you look at the movies, if you look at the way that is really how it's been presented to a lot of people, that either AI is going to solve every single problem of our society, or AI is going to be the Terminator that is going to destroy the world we live in. And this is an approach, obviously, that we know that the reality is nowhere near that. We know that AI is intrinsically not good nor bad. We know that we humans, humanity, leaders in organizations, we are in charge of the way that we develop, we deploy artificial intelligence, and the way that we make AI and humans collaborate. The reason why I start with this is because actually it is HR professionals who are the ones experiencing the way that AI changes the world day in, day out. I mean, you are the ones really understanding what it really means, how we can shape the relationship between artificial intelligence and humanity, but also understand the subtlety of the issues. For example, worries that people may have that AI can replace them. And you also are, I believe, and I very strongly believe this, and I say this wherever I go, that HR professionals know very well that at the moment, there is too much focus on AI replacing labor rather than AI augmenting labor. And the way that artificial intelligence can augment people at work is very important. And the way that we empower our employees to play with these tools, to use these tools, the way that we train them, this is really, really important, because it means that they are in charge of this transformation and they're not passive out there, just getting what is sort of the narrative out there. So to me, this is really, really important. And I actually, every time that I am in debates, or whether it's the sort of European AI Act, whether it's the United Nations, whatever it is, I always say we should take the perspective of HR in here, on people working in HR, because they really know what it's like. They really know that actually, when we take an AI tool and we deploy in-house, it doesn't mean that we blindly rely on it. Because HR, you guys, you know that actually you've got to challenge the output. You know that you need human oversight. You know the limit of the human oversight. But you also know that we cannot slip into automation bias, where we blindly trust these tools, because at that point we would lose our agency. So you are firsthand dealing with all the impacts that AI may have. So it's really important, I think, to sort of the way that you experience the AI transformation, I think is very important and should be actually listened to much wider than AI. I think, and to close on this, I think we are now at a point where, especially with agentic AI, we are now at a point where we all see that AI brings fantastic opportunities, but we all see how much AI needs to be governed well. And I think, to be honest, across organizations, the area of the use of HR in labor management, whether it's the hiring or firing, the performance management, reviewing a CV, deciding whether somebody's got access to an interview or not, somebody's got access to a bonus or not, somebody's going to be matched with an opportunity or not. These are some of the most important and life-determining decisions for people. So the area of HR is not by chance that is defined often as high risk in the European Union. So for example, an HR that is firing or hiring or has that decision-making power is considered in the EU high-risk AI. Or an AI, for example, that reads sentiment analytics. It's not allowed, or emotions is not allowed in a workplace or in education. So the European Union has taken an approach that there are some areas of deployment of AI in HR, which may infringe, if they go wrong, upon the rights of individuals to a point that is not allowed. But actually, I do not think that we feel differently around the world on this. For as much as the governance of AI globally is impacted by major geopolitical issues, I don't think that HR leaders would feel that they, without human oversight, would give an AI that is not being checked, that is fair, accurate, right? Give the power to decide over very important areas of employment. So I think what is really important, I'm trying to say, is that there are many more issues around the globe, especially when it comes to HR management, that bring us together than divide us, in the sense that although the geopolitical world is influencing AI governance right now, I think the area of HR and labor management is the one area where we all recognize the impact that could be tremendously good, but it also brings enormous risk, where actually these conversations are useful because we can learn from each other across the globe. So HR is very much at the front end of a lot of the discussions that we're having right now. So I'm delighted to be here. And Thomas, I can't wait to hear from you. I haven't seen you for a while. So that's great.
Thanks a lot, Ivana. I think that very well goes into our next, speaker, who is Mr. Thomas. And like Ivana said, as HR leaders, it's our responsibility to ensure that AI is like a force for good in the organizations that we represent, right? So, Thomas, would be very interesting to hear your perspective on what can we as HR leaders do to prepare our organizations for the changes that AI is going to bring in future.
I think I can echo only what you mentioned, being enthusiastic about this technology, and also what Ivana said, there is a great opportunity. I think there are two things are important to keep a human-centric perspective in the change we're doing. So there might be jobs transforming, but I think it's the way how we handle this. And the second is also transparency. People fear what they don't know. So being open and honest and transparent about what's going to happen, it's essential in one way. So how can organization help from a human perspective? I think number one is making a proper planning. So being aware of what jobs are affected by it, make a workforce planning, see how those tools affect certain positions. That's the one. So you can have a mapping, a planning for it. And then the second is how you can help the affected workforce. There are ways, of course, in terms of upskilling, but I'm not meaning just like an e-platform and then people do self-educating, but like a more mindful, like something LinkedIn, for example, is using, or we did at Wipro, for example, when you have a AI-supported career planning. So you know your job is maybe on risk or things are changing, and you can use AI also helping you to get the relevant trainings based on your experience and develop further. So upskilling, reskilling, something which companies can help people with, or something like Unilever is doing with their Fit for Future program, where they not only have like a training platform, but also like a project work platform where people who are affected can participate in some of the different projects to learn on the job. So that's one thing. And I think just something I forgot to mention, like I think the World Economic Forum mentioned like out of the entire global workforce, and there might be 75 million jobs getting lost, but at the same time, more than 90 million getting created and 700 be affected. So it's not, as Ivana said, like black and white, and it's not like the big fear, the big elephant in the room. It's more like it's a transformation, and we can help the people doing so. So upskilling, training is definitely something. Also, job finding is something. I know we had a platform where you could find different projects in a company, different work you can contribute. So there is also AI can help you in doing so. But also, to be honest, some jobs might get redundant, and it's also the way how companies handle this. So they have a fair transformation plan and outsourcing support, cooperate with our partners to help those people, like administrative work or so, where you maybe not directly find something. Or the warehousing, we have also at JD, where you can automation can eliminate some of the blue collar workers. Again, there's a higher demand from a global perspective. It's just how we help those things. And on the benefits, there are multiple opportunities how technology can help us. I mean, we are humans. We also make mistakes. No? And we are not free from mistakes. Ivano, you mentioned like hiring and firing. The hiring process, we're all biased. In 7 to 15 seconds, you take a decision and then you defend the interview. But also AI can help us in making things transparent. I think the only thing is, like you said, a framework. So making sure like you use AI in a very ethical way, and like similar what AI applies, like, you know, those 4 categories also within a company. That would be my recommendation. So seeing more benefits than challenges, but managing them properly and with the human-centric perspective.
Great, Thomas. Thanks a lot to hear for your wonderful insights. Next, we go to Pallavi. So Pallavi, like how Thomas also mentioned, instead of this fear of AI replacing jobs, what do you think on how can AI enable the jobs of future?
Thank you so much, Adit, and thanks to my esteemed panelists before me. What I heard very clearly is transforming, augmenting. I heard ethical, I heard governance. I definitely did not hear replacement, right? So I'll build on those themes as well and share some of our own perspectives. So the workplace, as we all know, is on the cusp of transformation, and it's being driven a lot with adoption and with speed because of generative AI. So unlike other technological shifts, Gen AI's accessibility and versatility are poised to reshape the substantial number of jobs that are there. But it's not just about automating tasks, but as Ivana mentioned very clearly, it's about augmenting human capabilities in unprecedented ways. So according to our own research at Capgemini, which is the Capgemini Research Institute report on Gen AI at work, 56% of leaders and managers and 54% of employees believe Gen AI is transforming the way we work. But here is the key point. As we mentioned before, Gen AI is not here to take jobs away. It's here to augment them and create new opportunities and also redefine on how we work. So I'll touch on three areas basically. The first is how Gen AI is transforming job roles. I'll also talk about how Gen AI can be a job creator and not a disruptor. And the third is how we can prepare our own workforce around the changes which are going to come. So to talk about Gen AI or transforming job roles, right? The biggest misconception is, and Ivana touched upon it, is that Gen AI will replace humans. The concerns about job replacement is, of course, there, but there are no such evidence of it happening, and this is more about prominent and transformative impact of Gen AI is basically job augmentation. So by looking at automating certain tasks, Gen AI allows colleagues, employees, workers to focus on aspects of their job that require human skills. So there are three areas that we could look at, for instance, where Gen AI could support. The first is creativity and innovation, right? Gen AI can assist in brainstorming, content creation, designing, allowing humans to refine and build upon AI-generated subjects. So some current tasks and firm level use cases for tools like ChatGPT have shown 40% decrease in task time and 18% increase in quality. Similarly, the second area which Gen AI can augment is complex problem solving. So there is quick information access and insights, and Gen AI then empowers workers to be better informed in making decisions and tackling complex challenges more effectively. The third area where it is again augmenting the work which is being done is on communication and collaboration. So Gen AI can assist in drafting communications, summarizing information, facilitating collaboration, and improving overall team efficiency. So the augmentation leads to increased job satisfaction. It will also lead to enhanced skills development and emergence of new roles that combine human expertise with AI capabilities. The second point about Gen AI being a job creator and not a disruptor. So they will, with automating, Gen AI is creating a new category of jobs, right? So the narrative of Gen AI is replacing jobs is about Gen AI creating jobs and not replacing jobs. So for instance, just to give few examples of where the jobs are being created, one is, looking at Gen AI trainers and prompt engineers. We have Gen AI ethics and governance experts. We are looking at human Gen AI collaboration managers. So furthermore, Gen AI's capability to automate tasks provides insights that can lead to development of new products, new services, and also business models that have been unimaginable before. And again, according to the Capgemini Research Institute report, 51% of leaders and managers anticipate the numerous entry-level jobs will transform or evolve into frontline managerial roles within the next 3 years as the integration of Gen AI into existing workflow accelerates. And 42% of teams expect AI to be a team member. So we must proactively look at Gen AI augmentation. It's not about replacement. And organizations that embrace this mindset will be more competitive and agile at the workplace. Third, about preparing workforce for a Gen AI-driven future. So it's about how we prepare effectively for utilizing generative AI. We all know about upskilling and reskilling. So Gen AI will become an essential digital literacy, if I may put it that way. So organizations must invest in training employees, along with focus on data analysis, Gen AI decision making, ethics, of course. There has to be trust and ethical considerations, training as well, which is ensuring responsible and ethical use of Gen AI, which is paramount in addressing concerns related to bias, misinformation, and data privacy. The third training should be on change management, where organizations must foster a culture of adaptability, embrace change effectively to integrate Gen AI into workflows, and last but not the least, build Gen AI trust and culture. So Gen AI adoption will succeed only and only if employees trust and understand it. Leaders must communicate Gen AI's benefits transparently and involve employees in the Gen AI journey. So these are basically the three ways that we look at, where Gen AI will foster the workplace and workforce going forward. Back to you, Adit.
Thanks a lot, Pallavi. So I have a thought, and probably each of the panelists could add. So Ivana, if I start with you, if you imagine a traditional, organization, it could be manufacturing or a services setup. So what kind of roles do you think will be transformed by AI, in the coming months? And then a follow-up question to Thomas would be, how can organizations kind of minimize this impact by planning for this in advance? And then follow-up question to Pallavi would be, if I am an individual in these kind of areas, how can I kind of, prepare myself to be more relevant in future? So it's a continuous theme. So Ivana, with you first on what kind of, if you take up a traditional manufacturing or a services setup, what kind of jobs do you think could be impacted by AI? Ivana, you're on mute.
Years of virtual meetings, and I still forget to turn the mic on. So I wanted to say one thing first. I hope you allow me. I wanted to say one thing that Pallavi mentioned so beautifully, which is around sort of the mindset, right? I wanted to take this opportunity because I don't always have the opportunity to have so many HR brain in a virtual room. Which is around the approach that we take within organization when it comes to using AI tools. So Pallavi was really beautifully speaking about mindset and how we need to train the workforce, upskilling. One area which is essential, in my view, in terms of upskilling, is really in that human artificial intelligence collaboration, right? Pallavi mentioned, we are recruiting managers that actually manage their relationship, and employees do see, team members do see AI becoming a part of the team. There is one element that is very, very important in my view, and that relates to the wider ethical agenda. When I was at the AI Summit in Paris, I was really impressed by Prime Minister Modi, who in his speech, he started with a beautiful example of bias. So he basically went on a stage with global leaders from across the world, and he basically said, if I ask generative AI to draw an image of somebody drawing or writing with the left hand, they would probably draw an image of somebody writing with the right hand. Why? Because of how AI is trained And because a generative AI is based on data, data comes from scraping the web, but data is a picture of our society, no more, no less. So when we ingest the data of today into machines that make decisions and predictions about individuals, if we're not careful, we crystallize the world of today into decisions about tomorrow. That happens, the output of this may be that in hiring, we do not take into consideration the possible bias. So for example, unintentionally, and I say unintentionally, an AI decision, an output may reinforce the existing bias that we have in society. Now, some argue, yes, but the world is biased anyway. HR professionals are biased anyway, but this is where I challenge HR. And I say, can we use AI to be aspirational? So if, for example, we use an AI tool to recruit individuals, and we look, for example, at the diversity of cultures, languages that you have in India. And if we look, for example, at the European Union and the fact that we, for example, at the plethora of legislation around non-discrimination or whatever that you have in India too. So I'm thinking, can we use these tools not to blindly replicate what is happening in the world right now, but actually to be aspiration, to use a different baseline, which is not just the baseline of the world today, but what we leaders in business would like our companies to look like. That I think AI could be a great ally to actually help us draw and define the organizations that we want to lead. And I'll give you an example in HR. Now, I lead AI governance within the company at Wipro. We use AI in many different ways. We create it, we develop it, we use it, whatever. I say always to all the HR teams, counterintuitively, because I'm an AI fanatic, I love it very much. But I always say to my teams, hey, the approach that you need to use is distrust by design, because I want you to learn how to use AI. So you challenged every single decision. You make sure that you challenge it to the core. And you say, why have you given me this outcome? Challenge it. Having that distrust mindset is not because we don't like AI, but it's because we want to train it well. We want to work with it. We want to own it, understand it. So especially when it comes to bias. Bias may come in so many different forms. Not just the data, but the parameters. If we're not careful, we may end up into biased outputs. So my encouragement, following what Pallavi and Thomas were saying, distrust these systems in a sense that encourage every single employee in HR to challenge the output, to say, why have you given me this? This is important to foster the human oversight, because ultimately we must remain in control. We must remain in control. And this is not because AI wouldn't do things better than us. That's not the point. Yes, it may do things much better than us. Look at playing chess. But we program it. We define which data goes in. We define the parameters. If I am in HR and I want to say, I want to recruit a good employee, I give a baseline of what Pallavi, Thomas, Adit define as good employee. It's very subjective. So of course, now HR is subjective to an extent, right? Because we all have bias. If I look at Pallavi or Thomas, I may say, oh, Thomas looks like this. I think, yes, we are all subjective. But once you use AI, you automate that bias into decision-making. The automation of the bias is next scale. This is where the HR leaders, they have a fantastic role in shaping that relationship between humanity and machines, because we don't want the existing baselines, the existing data, to form the basis for the decisions and predictions around tomorrow. And Prime Minister Modi was spot on when he basically said, we in India We know exactly what this means because we have such a diverse country, so many languages, so many religions. We don't want AI to simply become a tool to perpetuate the existing lack of diversity that some of these tools may have because of the training data getting into it. We want something more. And I think this is very important, and I really wanted to say. So when it comes to your question, very briefly, what is going to replace or what is going to augment? I see this through the lens of productivity. So AI is, whether it's a manufacturing firm, whether it's it cuts across all departments, whether it's HR management, whether it's the actual back office operations, whether it's the actual marketing teams. Generative AI is pervasive and can be anywhere. So it's really important to look at, and my view always said, let's look at this through the eyes of productivity. Let's look at this through the eyes of, okay, what are the actual solutions that I can identify so I can improve the productivity within the different areas of the organization, make the work of my employees better. Yeah, of course there is cost saving, but the approach should be, yes, it is cost saving, but because I want to refocus somewhere else, not because I want to replace the employee, but because I want to refocus somewhere else. So I do think that, and the impact is across all sectors. I mean, we use AI in marketing. We use AI to create content, to create videos. So we use AI across all the areas of talent and employee management to support with career path. We use artificial intelligence across the whole spectrum of all back office operations, everything. So I think, it would be obviously and across the whole spectrum of the organization, which is what I think we're heading. You're muted. Say I'm not the only one.
So yeah, so Thomas, follow up to you. If you are an organization which has which knows the consequences of that, and in Europe, you know how difficult it is, to kind of do this restructuring. So how can organizations prepare in advance for those kind of changes?
I just want to connect with what Ivana said, and I think this was touching more the core of the workforce which are affected. And we're not talking about jobs vanishing, and we still, I think the majority is somehow affected, and we can use it not only like what Pallavi said for building the products and for the external customer, but also for employee experience, right? So we're using it for our own benefit, but I would share what Ivana said also, like, we define AI, so we shape the tool which we use. Somehow the tool will shape us as well, but so it's on us how we train those AI tools. And I can tell you we are using Joy, which is a communication chatbot for employees and asking any question. And it's also the way how we train the machine, how to should respond and how to act and recommend in certain situations. So being mindful, applying those ethical principles in shaping the tool. But also second, having a governance model. So the data we retrieve from it can be insightful. Not only in, of course, HR analytics is super important, but also like from all those communications and all the other tools you can use. So it's similar to data protection, being mindful who has access to this, how do we take decisions based on this, and using, again, what Ivana is an expert in also with the AI Act in Europe with those categories, similar also in organizations. But also thirdly, we assess and audit AI tools. So like, that they don't develop biases you didn't want to, and you might have discovered also from human behavior. Those are very three important aspects, and we're making baby steps now with AI in communication apps, but also in HR analytics, and it's going to be a journey. We don't know every solution yet, but as I said, like the mindset, having the human-centric approach will help us in taking the right decisions, but also for those organizations who have unions and works council, don't hide it away. Get them early involved in consultation. Again, be transparent. There are also external experts who can help organizations, like we have data protection officers in some countries. There are also AI experts who can help organizations to assess the impact and also find solutions in the framework. So that builds trust with the workforce. And when my experience, when you see also using the AIs and the benefits, so not only like organizing meetings or getting meeting minutes or writing tools, but all the tools which come to support your work, finding flexible work solutions, and home office, obviously, we're doing this all remote now, also thanks to technology. There's so much opportunities which can help our people and organizations. And with this, we get higher productivity, we get higher employee satisfaction, engagement, and hopefully also better future. So my recommendation.
Great. Thanks, Thomas. So Pallavi, the follow-up question to you on how can individuals train themselves to be more relevant? There's also a question from a participant who was asking that if today somebody graduating from university, what kind of skills do they need to train themselves to be employable in an AI-dominated workforce in future?
Thanks for the question, Adit, and I'll take cues from what Ivana and Thomas said. And Thomas especially mentioned about, how important it is to understand how AI works, right? And AI will work depending on how individuals are trained to use it. And hopefully I'll respond to the question on freshly graduated and what skills to take in as well. So first is technical proficiency, and I'll come to that. The second part is strategic thinking and soft skills, right? So there are three areas that one can focus on looking at Gen AI being augmented within organizations. So coming to technical literacy, so one is, of course, one needs to understand how generative AI works, its applications, and also its limitations. We've spoken a lot about limitations and how governance and ethical oversight, human oversight is required about it. There are limitations to it as a tool, right? Uh, the most important part about the technical literacy part, if I may just kind of decipher it in simple terms, is data management. It's good to know and understand data and how data works. So that's one area, and the other is prompt engineering. So those are basically the technical literacy skills that one needs. Now, prompt engineering is, of course, more technical a bit in its nature, but it's just to kind of, again, demystify it a little bit, or an understanding the way I do is when you're using Google or any other search engine, right? You write a search string to get to the response it needs to. And that's what needs to be refined and better used with a Gen AI tool as well, which is the prompt engineering part. So these skills from a technical aspect optimizes Gen AI generated outputs. Now, beyond technical skills, when you're looking at strategic and analytical capabilities is essential. And of course, soft skills like emotional intelligence. So basically, if we look at how do we develop these skills as well? So there are tons of online courses which are available, from a generative AI perspective. These are training programs. We have industry workshops, and today's panel, for instance, is a good start as well. So network with Gen AI experts, experiment with generative AI tools, and many are available. And of course, join generative AI communities as well, which gives a practical experience. So understanding, training, communicating, collaborating, all will go well for an individual to pick up the skills, which I would again look at three areas: understanding a bit of the technicality of it, building strategic skills, which gives an oversight of how to use the tool, augmenting it, and of course, last but not the least, human-centric skills. Back to you, Adit.
Great. Thanks a lot, Pallavi. Of course, we are talking to a group of human resource professionals, so human-centric skills are always in demand. Good to know that. So my question again, I'll take you from what Nathan has initially mentioned in his opening comments, that we are all interested to see great examples of human and AI working together for better, productivity and better outcomes, right? So how can organizations ensure this seamless collaboration between human and AI, something that Ivan has also mentioned? Are there any case studies or examples that you can talk of how human and AI have worked together for a greater good or for a greater outcome? So Ivan, I'll start with you. Any examples or any case studies that you can talk about?
Absolutely. So I think so I've seen a lot of really good collaboration happening in the HR space. So for example, I've seen sort of we are in an early stage if you think about it, in the sense that we are learning how to work with these tools. And I have to be honest, the best collaboration I've seen is that when I see HR professionals and people working in sort of, for example, recruitment of individuals or analysis of individuals or challenging themselves and saying, am I doing the right choice here? Sometimes is this outcome biased or not? And this is really important because this is something that I'm very positive about AI. So I've been talking about bias in AI for the past 10 years. But nobody cared about it. And it was like, oh yeah, now it's become a topic of conversation around the dinner table, because obviously we've seen the outputs, right? We have seen people being locked out of essential things because of bias. We have seen women given less credit than men because of bias. We have seen women being served job opportunities that pay less because traditionally women earn less than men. We have seen publicity and adverts around cleaning the house going mostly to women because traditionally women clean more than men. So the reason why I'm worried about bias is not because it doesn't reflect society, it's because it crystallizes it. It makes it impossible to challenge, because once it's automated, it's very difficult to challenge. So the best collaboration I've seen is when actually people have come to terms with it and said, actually, I may use AI in a more aspirational way because I know the risks. I'm going to say, okay, hey, hold on a sec. How can I use AI to make things better? So I've actually seen people that have never worried about bias before, finally worrying about bias. I have seen people that have not really worried about these issues, like coming to terms with it and say, actually, because the risk here is that it's not like an individual being biased, but it's a system. It's a system being biased. I'm actually going to challenge this. I'm seeing this happening within the organization, and I didn't know how much I stress on certain things within the company, driving everybody a little bit crazy, but that's okay. It's my job. And hopefully by doing that, also trying to instill some sense of ownership of the changes that are happening. So this is where I see the real change happening. And I've seen this also across other sectors. I have the privilege of having worked, for example, having worked in healthcare for a long time. And I haven't seen how, for example, these systems are used to support decision-making in, for example, a particular medical field. And how, yes, it is successful from a rate standpoint. Obviously, AI can detect whether somebody's developing a certain disease before. Obviously can. But what is really good is to see how the human has collaborated with the machine, saying, okay, hold on a second, I'm the one that needs to be remain in charge, because ultimately I'm the one who is responsible. If I prescribe a certain path to a patient, I'm the one who is going to be accountable for it. So I need to understand it. So I need to understand and own the enormous amount of information that AI is going to process, which is beyond any human potential. But I need to remain in charge. So the beautiful examples of collaborations that I've seen are where there is this sort of human machine work where the human understands, yes, this is augmenting me. I've got access to much more than I had access before, but I am owning this. So I'm seeing this across HR, I've seen this across healthcare. And to me, that gives me a lot of hope, but it requires work. I can't stress this enough, because there are HR people here. Don't just be brave, be brave and say to people, challenge these outputs, challenge it, use it to be aspirational. I say, for example, and I did know, I say, for example, if I use a tool to say, and I asked the provider, say, how accurate are you? And say, I'm accurate based on the existing baseline. Why? Why does it have to be existing baseline? Why can I use this tool to be aspirational? If I want a more diverse workforce, and if I want sort of people from, I'm taking about Europe, where we do have issues related, for example, to diversity, especially from different backgrounds. Why can I use this tool to be aspirational rather than just use it to replicate what I have? So when I see this collaboration, I think the potential is enormous.
Great. So any comments from you, Thomas and Pallavi, on this topic on human AI collaboration?
Pallavi, you want to go first, or?
Oh, thank you, Thomas. I'll just take a quick minute. In addition to what Ivana mentioned, I'll come back, and I think I mentioned it before. Wherever GenAI is used, it should be integrated within the existing workflow. Only then it will be a successful augmentation, right? It cannot be standalone. So you have an existing workflow. How do you look at incorporating GenAI within that is important. And of course, at the end of the chain has to be human oversight. That's what I would say. Over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, you could have foreseen what I was going to say, but I love this collaboration as it's AI will help us. It's a tool, right? And there's so many use cases where we can really benefit from it, whether it's in the own bias and challenges AI can help us to overcome and see things we haven't seen before, or in process optimization, even like in HR leadership advice. You can refer to the tons of wisdom which is available in that AI, which can help you to come to a better decision making. However, it is a tool. It should not take the decisions. You should use it in a way. And similar, like you use a hammer when putting a nail in the wall, somehow you need some training, right? You can hurt you badly. Same here. You should be aware about AI. You should know about the pros and the cons, or how to use it in a way. So also the challenges which come with it, to get familiar with it, learn about it, learn how to use it in the right way, with the right mindset, in an ethical environment, with the right framework, and that will be to the benefit of all.
Great. Thanks, Thomas. I can share an example, and after that, I come to each of you for closing comments. I'll be honest to admit that I did use AI to come up with some of the questions that I could ask a panelist in a webinar on that, and it has helped me shape some of my thoughts. So that is one example of human AI collaboration, perhaps. So with that, we are already at the hour. It's amazing how time runs when you're having an amazing conversation with panelists like you. So we start with closing comments, perhaps. So with you, Pallavi, what are your closing thoughts on this topic?
I think, look, GenAI is one of the fastest dispersing technology, right? As individuals, how to use, to learn to use. As an organizations are adopting GenAI, how to ensure the highest ethical stewardship is a must.
Great. Thanks, Pallavi. Thomas?
I would say just don't be afraid, be excited. I think there are no better exciting times than this. It's a great opportunity, and as I said, it's on us to shape it and shape it in the right direction, and that's our opportunity. There will be more technologies in the future. There have been past technologies which we overcome with all the change. So this is one of them. It's an exciting time, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this with all of you.
Wonderful, Thomas. And Ivana, to you.
I would say be pragmatically optimistic. Optimistic because, yes, I mean, there is a lot that can be achieved, but pragmatically because a lot of what we achieve and how it depends on us and you, on how you do it. So being pragmatic about, yes, harnessing it, but also managing the risks.
Great. Thanks a lot. I know there were a few other questions. I'm afraid because of lack of time, we couldn't cover those questions. Probably we can send them to the panelists, and if you're able to respond, we could share back to the participants. So with that, thanks a lot to all of you. Thanks a lot, Thomas. Thanks a lot, Pallavi. Thanks a lot, Ivana, for sharing your wonderful insights on this topic. And we hope to continue this conversation. And I wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful show.
Thanks,
Thank you, Pallavi.